months ago, we
Get you guys in here, of course.
hit number 1 in the world.
This is live.
We're on live? Yep. Well, welcome folks. If you're just coming in, I'll hit a couple of goals.
It's YouTube.
So whacking a few 7-irons into the screen here at the Lag Shot Studio. Waiting for some people to come. We're looking forward to some questions. Hope we can be helpful to the viewing audience tonight. Adam from Scratch Golf Academy here with Kevin and Gary from Lag Shot and Scratch Golf. So we are here to hopefully give you a good time. Do the best we can with the questions you can. Hopefully we can be of some assistance to you. Look forward to meeting you. After about 60 balls, I start to get loosened up these days, so that's
We're live
encouraging.
on all.
Are we on that?
We're live on all. YouTube, TikTok, SGA. Welcome your new fans.
Hey, Scratch Golf Academy at TikTok. I don't know if you watch much of us, but we've been out online for some years on YouTube, now TikTok, and I've had a fairly long career in golf. Worked for David Leadbetter for 15 years. Had a few PGA awards down here, been teaching for 30, 40 years, and we have a pretty good following online. Very thankful for that. I'm here to help you if I can answer any of your golf questions. I will do the very best I can. So,
Me and Kevin are going to be moderating.
okay, Kevin,
Tell them to
Gary,
fire in their
help me out.
questions. We're in
So
back.
when questions come in, I'll attack them a little bit. Meantime, keep getting loose over here. This is my 7-iron. Let's try it. Feels all right?
So we got a question over here, Adam.
Yes.
I don't know how to get back to it.
He said as a beginner, should he stick with his old clubs as he gets better, or should we be getting fitted for some clubs, and how soon?
As a beginner, I would not, unless you have super old clubs that are, 2 decades outdated or something, if they're reasonably recent, and if you're of a fairly standard physique, I would just stick with the ones you have until you've developed a little bit of speed, a little bit of quality, consistency of contact. Otherwise, there's no point getting fit for something when your swing could change drastically in the next 3 months. That would be my advice.
Awesome. So we got another question.
Okay?
So need help on sloping lie where the ball is below my feet. Always hit the iron shots in the situation. Repeat it.
Okay,
Ball
so
below the feet.
Ball below feet, side hill line, we call that. That's a tricky one, but the reason is when the ball's above your feet, you can shorten up on the club. Obviously, you cannot make the club longer. So what I would recommend, make your adjustments in the setup, widen your stance, that gets you lower. Without changing your balance point, add squat. Create a more sort of acute angle in here, get yourself lower. Final tip, when you are going through it, stay in your knee flex and make an abbreviated follow through. Don't come up out of it and top the ball. Obviously you won't hit the ball as far as you might.
What would you do on an uphill lie?
Uphill lie would be target up here. The real key is you always want to be perpendicular or very close to it to the ground. So if the ground's pitched this way, get yourself as perpendicular as you can. So that your swing is going to fit the slope. An expectation though, you won't get your weight through it, but you'll be hanging back a bit. Encourage that. Don't lean into the hill too much. You'll make a deep divot hole.
Hit a couple shots. Show them what you're doing with your 7. Anything you're working on, Adam?
Yes. My tendency is to slide my legs too much. So I'm trying to feel at the end of my backswing and patient. And I use my legs, but I stay a little bit more centered so that once I've got my club in position, I can move. If I move too quickly to the left, I get a bit stuck and flip it with my hands.
Okay, we got some people on the new TikTok Scratch Golf Academy asking questions. I'm hooking my driver. What should my arms and hands be doing through my swing? I'm hooking my driver.
Okay, hooking it for the right-handed golfer going into the left. Obviously, club face is closing too much. Usually, that's better than leaving it open. Usually when that happens, the body is slowing down too much or getting stuck. And as that slows down too much, the hands get active. So I would be trying to feel a good strong push off the ground, a good strong turn through. Very important as well, if you're hooking it, you feel your arms are getting a little closer to you over here, a little more across your body. If they get out there, it's awfully difficult not to hook it.
Awesome.
Practice my swing for a sec here. Ready for another question when you feel ready? Dead straight. I only hit it 4 yards, but it's nice and straight. Do you have any other questions coming in?
Yeah, I just want to say hello to everybody.
This is Gary Guerrero.
Yes, sir. If you have any questions here, we're moderating them right here. I'm going to relay the message to Adam. This is on my TikTok. We're moderating it here. We do have moderators for the YouTube and the SGA TikTok. Bring in the questions, guys. We have a 3-time PGA Teacher of the Year, one of the best golf instructors of all time, a great goat. If you have questions, now's the time. This is your guy. He's here for 45 minutes. Please get all your questions in.
Happy to try
We're going to stay here till 8:30 till we get them all answered and have some fun. We're going to watch Adam hit some 7-irons and ask some questions. Please fire them away. Thanks, guys.
Any more coming in there?
Also, hey,
Yes.
if you like what you're seeing on TikTok, please share this. Help us to get this message of scratch golf and lag shot out. We want to help as many golfers as we can. It's our passion to help people. Please share this. Please smash that screen. Share some gifts. Please help us, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. We're fortunate. We've been around for 6-7 years online on YouTube and whatnot. And we've had nearly 60 million views. We've helped a lot of people, I hope. Got a lot of positive comments, got a few negative ones as well, but I have a lot of experience, so I'm happy to help if I can help you.
Good question. Over the top swing. Obviously, the lag shot fixes that. If they don't have a lag shot,
Yeah.
what would you teach somebody that has an over the top swing?
Well, the over-the-top swing means it comes too far out this way before coming down. So the golf swing, if it's any kind of a reasonable backswing, has to both come down and it has to come out towards the ball. The problem with the over-the-topper is they come out too soon. Too much body, too much upper body, not enough release of the arms. And it's especially this trail arm, right-handed golfer, because that's the one that folds. If I take a good backswing, that has to release a bit and get the club down. Once it's down, then I can come into the shot. Final tip for you as well, if you've been coming over the top, you've almost certainly been leaving the club face open. So as you pump that down, let the face turn a little bit. Hope that helps you.
You want to show us your hit?
Sure, let's try one here.
What are you working on, Adam?
I'm working on staying a little more centered with my legs. As I start down, I tend to slide a little bit too much.
Nice.
That felt
Very
pretty
solid.
good.
So we have a great question.
Yes.
On TikTok lately, we've been doing videos about the grip.
Yeah.
I did one, you've done one. We kind of piggybacked it back and forth. We have a question. Can you show us the difference between a strong, neutral,
Yes.
and regular, and what are the benefits of each? And you can walk pretty much all the way up to the camera. This is what they're seeing.
It's as simple as this. I'm a right-handed golfer. The target's that way. Strong grip for this lead hand is over ball. The more over here, the stronger it is. I don't know why they call it that, but I suspect it's because you'll typically hook it more from there, which is a stronger ball flight. Why would you hook it? The more your arm starts here, the more easily you can rotate it there in the swing. If I was turning a steering wheel, I'd grab it over here. So strong, I can see most of the back of my hand. The advantage is it's much easier to square the base. The disadvantage is if I get too active with my hands and create too much freedom and speed, I'll probably hook it. Neutral would be somewhat over. Weak grip is when your wrist is more in line with the shaft. Very, very difficult way to play. John Rahm does that. Would not recommend it for most people. So neutral, roughly 2 knuckles showing. At least I don't see these fingertips roughly at the right shoulder. That's the right recipe to me. I will say though, I wouldn't just position it like this. If you relax your hand and let the club fall more down into your fingers, it should naturally get in that sort of position. So I hope that's helpful.
You want to smash one?
Yeah, let's whack one. Weak grip is poison for most people. They tend to leave the face open. And when they leave the face open, it almost always leads to a loss of power and the natural inclination to come over the top to cure it. So do not recommend the weak grip.
Awesome. We got a great question here. Hey, Adam, what is your warm-up routine? Do you have a warm-up routine that you go through before you play a round of golf?
My warm-up routine is rather more labored and lengthy than it used to be. Basically, I have to, I'm 58 now, I'm just a little stiff and old. I have to get on the carpet and stretch and get my hips and back going. After that, I like the lag shot straight for warm-up, the training club with the blue shaft there, because it's a little heavier than a regular club, has more flex. And honestly, it stretches you out with its weight. And it encourages you not to, this is a left-handed version, but not to swing too hard because you can feel the club gathering and loading. And the weight of it really does stretch you out. But otherwise, start with some practice swings. Get your muscles loose, then go to a short iron, make some small swings. There's no great mystery to it. Just don't swing too hard before you're ready for two reasons. Number one, if you swing too hard too early, you probably hurt yourself. Number two, you're probably going to make bad contact when you're too stiff and get into the habit of making a bad swing for the day. So work your way in with some practice swings and some stretches as need be before that. See how we do here? There we go. We have in the Scratch Golf Academy app, by the way, a whole routine on warm-ups that I think is really good. Gives you some stretching and some warm-up ideas in depth. Free app, Scratch Golf Academy. Hope you check that out. We have another question.
Kevin. How do you start your swing?
Well, okay, different people feel things differently, but I believe the best way for the swing to start is that the core engages a little bit. That doesn't involve a long leg movement. If I had a heavy weighted gymnasium ball, I had to move it, I would engage that a bit. And it's so important that the club reacts to me. You'll see almost every top player on the tour where the club is more in front of their hands here. The average player just the opposite. The club starts first, the hands break. I'm telling you, two things that are a problem. When that club gets behind you, its predispositions to come over the top, that's a problem. And secondly, when you can start with the body and the club reacts to that, it sets so much more the type of rhythm and type of sequence you want in your golf swing. So my encouragement to you, get a weighted gymnasium ball or pretend you have one. Get some movement so you feel your core energized. Relax your arms and let that club react to you a little bit. You will be a lot better off.
Hit that pin out.
I'll hit into the net here.
Let's go.
Hold it.
Pulled that. So what would you fix? Obviously you pulled it a little. What do you think was the
What I
reason?
felt happened was mostly club face closed. So I think I didn't get enough energy from my hips there to support the club. I think I was a little dead with my legs and I flipped the club. I think the average golfer that pulls it's probably more from coming over the top, and for me, more of a club face issue.
Would you correct it on your next swing? Like, is there a swing
I'm gonna
thought?
try.
I mean, do you think? Sorry, I messed you up there.
Okay, so that was a lot
Look
straighter.
at that.
I mean, ultimately, there we go.
Oh,
Ultimately,
good fix, sir.
Ultimately, this is a good lesson for her. The ball responds to the club, not to you or what you're thinking or to your knee or to where you're looking. So anything you try to do should always be connected in your mind to what do I need the club to do differently or to do more or whatever. You'll access the genius of the mind so much more that way. I teach golf full time, have for decades, so I'm used to talking to people. So many times someone will hit a shot that's screwy and I'll say, what do you think happened? I'll say, I think I didn't turn enough. Or some such answer, but really has no connection whatsoever to the club. It tells me their mind isn't in the right spot. So what I just did, I said I think I closed the club too much. I think if I move a little more dynamically, it won't close as quickly. And that was able to get me to sort it out there in one shot.
Okay, we've got Paul from North London on YouTube here.
Paul?
He's a 13 handicapper with a perennial out to in cut problem with the driver. His coach says he needs to pivot his hips rather than slide his hips. Which one would you say?
It depends if you're talking backswing or downswing, but I would say this. I used to live in southeast London, Dulwich, so not too far from you. I would say this. If you've been chronically coming over the top and fading or slicing, which is typically what over the top is do, first thing you should do is get better at closing the club face. We react to the things we do. Even if you come over the top, if you can get to where you can square the club face, and every time you come over the top, the ball goes left, you won't want to swing over the top pretty quickly. So club face first, I'm telling you. Get your grip. We talked about this a minute ago. A little stronger, a little more wrapped over, a little more in the fingers. When you come in, snap that face more closed. You probably want to practice it with an 9-iron on some house swings, but you need to get where 5 out of 6 of your misses are left when you come over the top. Then you'll be in a position to start swinging from here. That's what I would work on. Even if it's pull hooks, sort that club face out.
We got Matthew here.
Hey, Matthew.
What's the best way to improve your wedge play from 125 yards and in?
Well, I think two things. Number one, solid contact. that means they have to lean the shaft a little more. Not hit way down at the ball, but lean the shaft, drive the ball a bit lower. When you lean the shaft, you get a lower trajectory, better spin. And you start to, this is number 2, you start to get some trajectory consistency, you begin to get distance control. The average golfer, just they hit one up in the air, one spin, they never develop good distance control. So lean the shaft, get a low spinning ball, and you'll be on your way. Then I would benchmark at least 1 yardage, say 75, so you know what that feels like, and you can adjust from there. That sound okay? Should we hit one here? Practice my backswing. Actually felt pretty good. I like the way my leg motion.
Crushed it. Nice stop.
Well, 163, that's not bad for me. Let's try another one here. So I'm trying to get my arms a little across my body, use the ground, and then kind of get my hips thrusting through the shot. That felt pretty good as well. According to that, I hit a little bit to the left, but I did hit that solidly.
We have a guy that says he makes good contact with his lag shot, but can barely make good contact with his normal irons. What's the fix?
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I think you have to define a little bit what's different with your irons. Is it thin? Is it fat? Is it not getting the face square? Something like that. Very important. Not so much that I have to know, but very important you're fairly definitive. One of the things, this is sidetracking just a bit, but I find most helpful in golf lessons is just getting people a little more educated to where they're hitting the ball on the club face. So the better your feedback, I hit it thin, I hit it off the top of the face and stuff, the better your feedback, the more the genius of your mind will start to make compensations.
Awesome.
Okay?
Good question. I mean, good answer.
Sandia, this is Sandia Piper.
Yes, Andy?
When is the time to move from a starter golf club set to better equipment? I'm close to breaking 100.
Oh, I think it's probably time already. Most of these starter sets, they're great, they're pretty, they don't cost much. They have like 5, 6 kind of matching color clubs. But I think if you've gotten to the point where you're starting to break 100, especially as a lady golfer, and I don't say that disparaging, it's just their stroke average is a bit higher, man, you are ready to get a good set. I cannot recommend strongly getting a quality club fitter. There's many out there that has a launch monitor, probably a track mat. Get someone that knows what they're doing to fit you.
Awesome.
Is there an anti-slice tip? You want to hit a ball? What would be your anti-slice tip? Can you hit a ball and show us?
Yes. Again, we said this to someone a minute ago. Let's assume fairly solid contact for a moment, because the ball can go anywhere if you don't. This is, Sir Isaac Newton would back me up on this. If the club face squares up and gets even a bit close at impact, you will never again hit another slice. It physically cannot happen. You could pull it, but you wouldn't hit a slice. So the first thing for a slicer is get better at squaring the face. Final tip, the only way to know when you've had enough of something is when you've had too much. So get a golf club out, probably a 7-8 iron, and practice cracking the face close and hitting some hard low hooks. Then back off that until it's going straight. Once you've gotten good at squaring the face, then you can get your swing on the play.
Key point. Start closing it sooner than you think. People think they close it here. I'm going to close it here. No, no.
In golf lessons, I'm having people feel like it's closing here. So by the time it's here, it's pointed, feels like it's pointed that way. You cannot do it too early. Hey, listen, if you hook some, don't do it so much. Do a lot, then come back to neutral.
It's a good tip.
We got Bill O from Naples, Florida.
Hey, Bill Owens.
Bill O.
I know Bill Earls.
Yes. When you say harder swing in the sand or in the thick rough, do you mean a longer swing, arc, or the same tempo?
Okay.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so Bill's asking about when you say swing harder in the sand or in the thick rough, presumably fairly near the green. Yeah, the sand slows the club down. You don't get direct ball club contact. Certainly the rough slows the club down. The ball responds to speed, assuming solid contact, not anything else. But generally, if you make a bigger backswing, you can swing with more speed. So yes, making a little longer swing adds potential speed, but there still has to be that innate sense of enough energy anyway.
Awesome. One thing is remind them to share, to smash that screen, to like if they like your, engage with them if they like it.
Yeah, guys, if you're enjoying
Please let
this,
us know.
Listen, I'm not getting paid to do this. I'm quite happy to do this. I'm a full-time golf teacher. If it's helpful to you, If this forum of having your questions answered free is helpful to you, I've got a lot of experience doing it, decades of it. What's the term, you share it or something?
Yeah, please share it. Please
Share it
like
with
this.
friends. I'm happy to get to their questions. So, not trying to sell you something, we would love to meet you and help you with your golf game. So please share it, yeah.
Grip pressure, the old holding a baby bird trick, but how much
So I'm saying, grip pressure, the old
do you
Sam
measure
Seagull
that?
was
How do you
another-
measure that, you know?
Well, I don't think there is a way to measure it. And I'll tell you what else I think. I don't think all great players do it the same. I've seen photos of some players look so stiff you'd think they're going to have a stroke in there, and some players look a little looser. Sam Snead was famous for saying, hold it like a baby bird. I don't think that's tight enough. Here's one other thing, and this may be a little controversial. I don't believe most great players hold it at the same pressure throughout the swing. It's human nature. If you pick up a really heavy suitcase or a hairbrush, do you grip at the same tension? No, because they're completely different jobs. When the club's just sitting there in address, you need some grip pressure. Is that the same as 90 miles an hour crashing into the ball and the turf? No. So I think you see, when you look at pictures of great players, a certain tightening through the arms and body to support the club. So hey, enough to have control of the club. Nobody could easily pull that out of my hand, but not so tight that I don't have some mobility. Play around with it. Find what works for you. Besides, my version of what a 6 is may be different to what you think it is. So play around with it. Get what you need.
It's great.
How do you
CJ,
clear your left hip in the swing?
Okay, good question. How do you clear your left hip in the swing? The lead hip. Well, listen, here's a fact. You can spring a lot more off the balls of your shoes than you can off your heels. You would know that if you've ever tried to jump in the air. So most great players, and there's some exceptions on force plate, the first move, the weight's a little bit in the back heel, is more towards the ball of the front shoe as they change direction, because off the ball of the shoe, I can push back and up a lot harder, and I can snap that hip back and get it straight. So you've got to push back and push up off the ground to clear that hip once that club's moving at high speed.
we got CJ on YouTube here. Best
CJ?
tip for combating early extension.
Early extension. Okay, this is flexion in the body, this is extension. So you should extend. You don't see any great players finish like this. They extend it. Early extension, too much towards the target line. I think you look for any predisposing factor. Could be flexibility, probably not. Am I so steep, for instance, that I've got to straighten up to hit it? If that's not present, take some practice swings without the club and just practice while staying in balance, getting your chest a little nearer the ground, like so. It's the opposite. And as you do that, keep moving. Don't try to stay too still and over the ball as you do. So practice the opposite without a club, then with a club and without the ball, and you'll get a feel for it.
We got Miles.
Smash a couple hits.
Yeah.
Miles.
On our Scratch Golf Academy TikTok.
Hey Miles, what's the question?
I'm hitting the ball at the center of the irons. Any tips to stop slightly flipping at impact?
So you're hitting it in the middle.
Scooping.
That's good.
Scooping.
Okay, here's the tip for you, Miles, and obviously I don't see your swing. Assuming a few things, this golf club down at the bottom, if you were hitting it at all, it has a lot of energy, and you just don't have the strength as a normal human being to control it completely unless you engage the big muscles in the core. So if I was knocking a little tree stump down with a lightweight axe, I wouldn't just hit it like that. I'd engage my glutes and core. You hear Tiger talking about engaging his glutes. Practice hitting some shots, maybe 9 yards, 60 yards, where you can hit a good firm shot and stop the club there. No flip at all, little low punch, and engage these glutes. That has to be engaged if you're going to get rid of the flip. You need some release, by the way, you just don't want it to be so premature.
Awesome.
Nice tip.
One person on TikTok here. I can't hit a draw. When I try, I cut across my body, and how do I avoid that?
Okay, here's how you avoid it. What most people do, we've touched on this a little bit, he's saying it's difficult to hit a draw. When he tries to hit it, he cuts across his body. What you're mistaking feel-wise, at least in the middle of your swing, you're mistaking turning the face with turning everything. So don't turn your trunk and your arms, don't turn your trunk and your hips so much, turn the face. Get that feeling where that's separated from this a little bit. And start to get the feeling where you can snap the face shut but be a lot more square to the target line as you hit it. Play around with it, overdo it. I'll hit one at soft speed here.
We'll go to here.
That ball hit so far left of that net, it was unbelievable. Take some speed out, exaggerate it, and then work back. Separate that feeling from swinging the whole swing left.
I keep slicing my irons, and when I hit them straight, I chunk them.
Okay, slicing irons, when he hits it straight, he chunks them. It's probably the other way around. Probably when you chunk it, you don't get any side spin because you get all the dirt in the way, so you're probably making the same swing. But again, slicing your irons, the ball, other than miss it, cannot slice unless the face is open. It's not the only deal on the table, but you've got to start, I believe in most cases, is squaring the face. So here's the thing as well. A lot of times when someone slices it and they leave the face open, their instincts are so wired up to get them to close it, they release it early, which makes them hit behind it as well. So get good at handle forward, club closed. Just practice it right in front, like that. Handle forward, club closed. If you can get the handle forward and the club closed, you'll neither slice nor hit fat.
Nice. Go ahead. That's a guy asked too.
Yep.
Lead arm disconnected at impact. Shoulder too open? Question.
Lead arm disconnected at impact.
Is the shoulder too open? They're asking.
Not necessarily, no, I don't think. Usually that means the arm's out here or something like that. It's highly unlikely it's over there. We probably wouldn't hit the ball. So I think what I would try to feel is as you come in, I would feel some resistance. So the arm and the shoulder actually slow down, and against that you can release the club. And I would emphasize the feeling my tricep snapped in against my ribs and connected that way. You're not going to play good golf just sticking your arm against your ribs. You've got to create a little pop. So make some swings. Snap that tricep in against your ribs. I think you'll solve it.
Awesome. So press forward to trigger your swing or not to?
Really optional. Jack Nicklaus, if you recall, great look there, little forward press, little press of the head. Tiger Woods doesn't do it at all. The ball doesn't respond to that stuff. What I would caution you against is, if it helps you, do it. But what I would caution you against is anything excessive, because that can alter the club face angle and sort of mangle the takeaway of it. So if it's just subtle and it's a slight press and it helps you, Gary Player used to press his knee, Sam Snead his hips a bit, go ahead and do it if it helps you.
Having trouble getting the club to the top. Any suggestions?
Well, you've got the same problem I do. Your backswing's too short. I at least have excessive age process to blame for it. You know, it could be a number of things. Could be that you're just in a rush to get back to the ball, could be rhythm, but typically when I see someone whose backswing's too short, their right side doesn't extend enough. Picture reaching for something on a shelf, your rib cage gets longer, your armpit extends. If you can get that right side longer, which isn't necessarily the same as just turning your shoulders, you'll get that extra length of backswing you like. Here's a good drill for you. Grip it left hand only, and just leaving the club on the ground, see how far diagonally back and around you can reach. Practice that feeling of opening your rib cage up, then try it with a golf club in your hand. I think you'll crack that problem.
Perfect. We got James on YouTube.
Hey James.
He got into a bad habit of hitting at the ball and not through it. He's hitting at the ball and not through it. Some tips?
Good news, James. If this is good news, you're not alone. About 3/4 of people who play golf do that. I do that sometimes, frankly. Here's what I would recommend. You ever watch Annika Sorenstam swing or David Duval? Their heads almost around as they go. I'm not recommending you play like that, but hit some little punch 7-irons like I'm doing here. Literally watch the ball go out. What I want you to think about is, can I develop a sense of where I'm going? In other words, is the target there and not this thing underneath me? Once you've gotten some flow and you've got your eyes to track the ball, then you can go back to looking a little longer down at the ground with the ball. Play around with it, see what works for you.
Having trouble getting the chunking shots on downhill lies.
Chunking shots on downhill.
Downhill lies.
Yeah, well, downhill would probably be this way. Ball above or below feet. It is very easy to chunk it when you do that. The great majority of people struggle more with that slope than any other slope. Now, here's the problem. If you release the club a little bit early, that's bad enough. But if there's an upslope behind you, you're going to hit that slope every time. Three things. Lean with the hill at address, play the ball a little farther back, helps you hit the ball before the ground, and make a really driving, punching finish. Don't let the club cross your hand. So weight left, ball back, drive the handle down the hill for a low punching finish, and hopefully that'll do it for you.
When I try swinging on inside, I always slice it.
So when you try to swing from the inside, you always slice it. Who's asking this question?
This is Indian Scout.
Hey, Indian Scout. I'm not used to all these internet names. Okay.
I know.
Here's the thing. This goes back to something who said to a few people. I am telling you, with solid contact, The ball will not slice if you can get the face square to close. It will not happen. So what usually happens, someone that's cutting across it a little bit tends to leave the face over there, hit their slice. Then when they swing more for the inside, the slice gets worse because they haven't cured the club face. So as you try to swing from the inside, do something Gary was saying, get that face to close early. I mean, overdo it. Get it to go down. Hold the club in front of you. See what it feels like to close the face. And I'm telling you, when you can hit some half shots that just look like that, I'm going to hit one for you. I'm aiming straight into that net. Ball almost hit the left wall over there.
Yeah, I showed him.
When you get good at that, you won't have this problem anymore. Close it a lot, close it early.
Right-handed golfer, how straight should your left arm stay throughout the swing? Right-handed golfer, left arm, straight.
Okay, how straight should it be? In an ideal world, it would stay very straight, I think. You don't want to get so rigid that you completely lose the flow in your swing. Here's the thing, not everyone's flexible enough to do it. A test for you, stand with your back to a wall, don't let yourself arch, put your hands like this, see if you can touch your thumbs to the wall. If your back arches or your elbows spread apart, you don't have very good lat flexibility. You're probably the kind of golfer that needs a little bit of bend in that left arm. So straight side heel, if you're not very flexible, it's okay if it bends a little bit.
Awesome. Okay, we got Trevor Tucker. I have a natural open shoulders to hip stance. Beyond fixing the open face, what can I do to correct the open shoulder situation to stop slicing?
Okay, open shoulders and open feet at address. It's possible to play that way. Lee Trevino, Fred Couples played a bit that way, Trevor. But what I would do is what I call the factory setting drill. That is to say, I've yet to meet the person, they're probably out there, but I've yet to meet the person when they stand in a room relaxed with no club in their hands, their shoulders are like this. I haven't seen that yet. So factory setting, as I understand computers, which Gary knows isn't too much, just washes everything out. So what I would do is get set up to a golf ball like this, put the club out of your hand, shimmy the tension out, just see what feels natural to your body. Nudge your hips forward just a little bit. Wherever that is going to be about correct. Then pick the club up and work off that. Don't take an open stance and try to torture it and square it up. You'll feel very unnatural. Hope that helps.
Awesome.
I have I Am Groat on the Scratch Golf TikTok here.
Hey,
My natural shot is a draw. What's the beginning thought process to hit a fade?
okay, good for you. You're in that less minority that it's a draw. Well, what I would try to do, you certainly don't want to come from out to in, but I would feel coming into impact. David Leadbetter used to film his pros this way. We put the camera 30 yards away. By the time you hit it, the handle should be starting to come left and start coming around you. Picture a hockey shot like that. That does not mean the club's coming from outside the ball. When this handle works closer to you, it's not only, it gets rid of swing out the right, it's a lot easier to hold the face open. So I would feel as you go through, hit some punches where you feel this right arm is a lock across your body like that. You'll need some hip rotation. Squeeze a few out there where you start to cut it. That impact feels the one I would go for.
You want to demonstrate that? Let's demonstrate
Sure,
it.
let's try it. See where my arms are across you there?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that looks correct. I'm saying I would feel a lot of that till you get the little fade you're looking for.
All right, YouTube, Paul Malone, best tip for rising elbow at the top.
Hey Paul, how are we doing? Presumably right elbow if you're a right-handed golfer. The biggest thing I see most times when people do that, they have a grip usually that doesn't let them hinge it too much in the palm. They don't get the wrist cocked, and so they instinctively substitute too much arm lift and too much arm raise. Not only do the arms lift, but they spread apart. So get yourself a grip more in the fingers that you can hinge it. Feel like you push the handle more down and away from you. And I'm telling you, Paul, as you push it down, your arms will come more together and your elbows will stay low. Let me exaggerate one. Again, not a full swing, but that's the feeling. Opposite pressure.
All right, we got a couple of questions over here. The Golf Grind is asking, my clubs and hands get stuck in the ground on uphill lies. Hands
okay, so
and...
jam it in the ground on uphill lies.
There you go.
Two things you want to do. Set up tilted back with the hill. Most people know that. Second thing, though, if it's reasonably severely uphill, swing up and let your weight stay back more. You will not see a great player posted on their left side on an uphill. So hit it, swing back. Sometimes on a severe uphill, let me demo. This is obviously flat, but you will actually see some great players even back up.
Yeah.
Gets the club going up.
Yeah, I do remember seeing that. Okay, we got one over here. If I practice a good bit, I can find some sort of workable swing from 7-iron and higher. The longer the club, the longer clubs remain a mystery for me to hit, no matter how well I hit them. What should I do to work on my long game better, the long irons?
I think in general it's easier to hit the short clubs, but usually, first 2 tips. Number 1, hit some short ones and then a handful of long ones, back to short ones and then a handful of long ones. Mix and match, don't camp out. Number 2, most times when someone can hit the short ones well but not the long ones, their swing is too vertical and too steep. Those long flat clubs don't tolerate it. That club has to come more from the side of the body along the ground. Hit a few slow motion, say forearms off the tee. Feel like that club's behind your right hip and has a long level spot. You just demonstrate one. Nice and slow, long level spot, was able to pick it. Once you get a long level spot in the shallow swing, you start to see some transfer.
Awesome. We got Ryan Lee here.
Hey Ryan.
How do I stop hitting chunks with my irons?
2 types of chunks, Ryan. You have to determine which one you do. The worst
3
one
people.
probably
We
is
need to
one
get
where
this
you
one
get
going.
savage deep
It's not
divots,
gonna
huge
do it.
chunky ones. That's just too
They
steep
can
an
come over
angle
here.
coming down.
Tell them.
I would say the more
Say
common
we're
one
ending this.
is more
Text
of
it.
a drop kick, kind of brush the ground first. If that's you, you've got to get
Send
more
that
weight
to
transfer,
Junior.
and you've got to use that weight
Link.
transfer to let the handle get past the ball.
Say we're gonna
If
end
you
this.
get your
Please
belt
contact
buckle and the
Junior.
handle
Junior.com.
past the ball, you will not
If you
hit
want
the
to
ground
do it.
behind the ball. Again, if the divots are super deep, you've got to get that club coming more from here and less from here.
All right, we have R. Terry on TikTok is asking, where is the power generated from when driving the ball?
Okay, Terry. Let's assume solid contact. What the ball responds to is club head speed. What we have though, if you picture a towel, let's say, in the arms, I'm not able to move my hand that quickly, but if I move it the right way, it creates exponential speed at the end of the towel. Same thing with a fishing rod like that. So you've got to use your hips to lead the downswing, that stores energy, and once it's stored, you've got to firm up a bit and snap the whip a little bit down there. So you could say it's from the middle out. That's true to say, but it has to be exponential speed at the club heads versus what you have in your hips. Let me show you one here. Nice and loose. Really let that club pop down there. I loaded it and popped it. We have another one.
Perfect. We do. All right, you need to get
Time
the
to
one there.
practice here.
What is the tip to hitting it out of the trees? My 7-iron gets up quick and hits the tree limb. Stay low.
Hitting it out from under trees, how do you keep it low? Well, the first thing is what kind of line you have. The more grass around the ball, the more loft, you need more loft because you've got to hit down more, which de-lofts it. But let's assume you're on pine straw or something fairly low. 3 things you can do. Play the ball farther back. Take a less lofted club. And thirdly, get good. It isn't difficult at tilting the loft forward. It's as simple as that. You just have, watch this little shot here. Watch how low this goes. And that hit a foot above the bottom of that canvas. So play the ball back, tilt some loft, and as need be, take a less lofted club.
Perfect. We got Kevin Mobley here. Tips and drills for improving shaft lean at impact and not standing up.
Okay, Kevin. What I would recommend, your head should stay pretty still. Grip it with just your fingers at the bottom of the club, where you have no control of the club. And as you move athletically, picture skipping a rock, the club will start to respond to you. You've got to have the courage of your convictions. You've got to have the courage without moving your head a lot to get the handle well past the ball. Then you've got it. So let me show you here. See how low that came off. Let me give you one other thought about standing up. When a golfer gets too released early, which it sounds like you are, one of the things that happens, the circumference of their swing gets wider, and if they don't stand up a bit, they almost always stick it in the ground. So I think if you can add that lag, you won't want to stand up.
Awesome. We have some people who want to give you.
Thank you.
They're very grateful for you, and give them a sip of water. Ryan here is joining us.
You're right.
Key differences in backswings. Key differences in the backswing when you're swinging an iron. Key differences in the backswing when you're swinging irons.
Well, I don't think it's really a different backswing to a driver, but certainly it would be a little firmer, wider, and short. So, any golf swing should have a fairly good plane, something along the angle of the club. And here's one checkpoint when you film yourself on your phone. If you're hitting anything less than a 5-iron and your camera's straight on, you should always see both hands and both arms on that side of your body. Have there been any exceptions to that in great golf? Yes, but it doesn't work for most people. If you keep those hands in front of you with a decent coil, I think that's the backswing you're looking for with arms.
Awesome. We've got the Slimer on YouTube here.
Slimer, wow.
Does anyone know how I can keep my head more steady like Adam? My head always goes up and down on the swing. So we've posted your videos of solid.
Okay, Slimer. It's sort of a centrifugal force. It's a chicken and the egg. David Leadbetter, my old boss, used to have a string with a golf ball on it, and he'd get that thing going, and the wrist, which represents the head, if you like, would stay pretty still, and the thing would pick up speed. But by the same token, as the ball picked up energy, it actually stabilizes the middle. So what I think you've got to do is you've got to practice first your pivot. Can you pivot there without a club? It's not that difficult. Where your head stays pretty still. The only requirement for that primarily is can you turn on an angle perpendicular to your spine. Once you've got the feel without the golf club, make sure you have enough mobility in your wrist with your grip so that you don't need to lift the golf club. You can just hinge it. And just practice it away from the ball. Can I give everybody a tip in general? Very few golfers, by percentage-wise, ever get a club in their hand away from the golf course at the house, maybe in front of a mirror, and just work through some feels so they know, hey, people say they want to play by feel. You've got to know what you're trying to feel. The only time the club's in the hands of most people is full speed at the ball, instincts come back, things don't change. Get away from the golf course and figure a few of these things out, and you'll do yourself a huge favor. The pros do that.
Awesome. Any good drills to get hip rotation involved? I hit a ball solid distance, but rotation could help.
Drills to get hip rotation going. I'm presuming you're talking in the downswing. Actually, addressed this a little earlier. It's a dynamic thing once that club's going. So it's not just turning the hip. It's actually pushing up and back with the hip and pushing off the ground. Great golfers, if you look at their belt buckle here, it will go up substantially as they go through like that. So as you come down, practice some little mini transitions till you feel pressure in the ball of the lead shoe. Once you've felt it on the third or fourth pump, push back hard. Let me demonstrate once. Push, push. Really practice jamming that hip up and backwards.
We got,
I used to have that problem, and I just think hips first.
Yeah.
When I get to the top, the first swing, the first thing I think of is just turning my hips, because I forget sometimes we get strong with our arms,
Right.
and then so
Yeah,
works for me.
some swings at a moderate pace and feel it.
awesome. When doing a live swing on a ball, do you ever have anything in your head other than hitting the ball? What's your
Yes.
thought process?
Thousands of things for dozens of years. I'm afraid it's difficult. But what's one of the difficult things about golf is not to think too much. Let me give you a quick anecdote without being a name dropper. I worked for David Leadbetter for 15 years. At the one end of the spectrum was Nick Faldo. I've been lucky enough to be around him a little bit. He'd work in front of the mirror. He'd work on several things. It's just what he liked. That's the way he's wired. That gave him confidence. But when he played, 2 swing thoughts only, which is a lot for most people. Always only one on the way back. Always only one on the way through. They vary from week to week. Ernie L's other end of the spectrum, he'd work on stuff a bit. Never, to my knowledge, ever played with the swing thought. So you have to go with what you're wired at a little bit. The key is, when you are thinking about something in your swing, I'm going to swing one here and try to keep my legs a little more pressed into the mat. Don't remind yourself in the middle of the backswing. Just have a mental picture and almost more noticing it as you do it. So don't puncture the swing with a conscious thought.
Awesome. Owen Walker here on YouTube.
Hey, Owen.
Any practice routines to help create more club head speed?
Yeah, actually, I did a YouTube video. Is Owen on YouTube?
YouTube, yeah.
I did a YouTube video. It was a review of super speed golf, speed sticks. That's a proven method. Go look at that. It's called a review of super speed golf at the Scratch Golf Academy YouTube. It is the best system out there that I know of to build speed. Hey, certainly good technique is part of speed. Certainly fitness is part of speed and club fitting, but those speed sticks are great. Not only is the speed sticks the principle of how to practice for speeds in that video. Try those.
Interesting caveat.
Yes.
David Mobley, 5-time world long distance champion, was here hitting off the simulator. Just with the driver, the lag shot driver, because it's a little weighted,
Yeah.
he gained 4 miles an hour of club head speed.
Wow. David Mobley, World Long Drive Contest, 5 times.
Was in here.
Was using the blue lag shot driver, gained 4 miles an hour there. At that level, that is a ton of speed. Yeah, this thing really creates bounce and whip. This thing really helps you load the golf club. It helps you not only load it, but spring it at the bottom. So practicing with one of these could be a key ingredient in that, for sure.
Awesome. I think too much about making sure everything is correct in my swing, particularly driver. How can I lose some of those thoughts, I guess, or what can make me more smooth?
Well, I think I would, hey listen, you can't just turn your, he thinks too much, especially on the driver swing. You can't just turn your mind off if you're used to doing it. First thing, get away from the golf ball, get over back at your house probably. Practice some things with a mirror there, preferably a mirror, could be a sliding glass door, until you get some feels you like. You have to distill the things you're working on into more broad brush feels. I'm telling you, if you have a feel like arm close to here or do that with my knee, that is poison. Don't try to manage it. You lose the genius of the mind. So get away from the ball, figure out what you want to basically swing like, and translate that away from the ball into more of an athletic feel. See, for me, I feel like my arms are more across me. That works for me. And from there, I feel like I can get them more in front of me. My tendency is to be up and then go under. So it's a broad feel that works. And I think if you go with a broad feel, you'll be okay.
All right, we need the shank fix. We got a couple people that have asked about it. User 7616, I got you. Shank fix, please.
Okay, quick anecdote about shanks. Good friend of mine got into the Pro-Am up at Tampa a few years ago, the Val Spa, got paired with Charles Howell. Charles Howell used to work with Leadbetter. I used to be around him, a very nice guy. He was having a good time with Charles. They were talking and chatting in the Pro-Am. And on about the 14th hole, my friend said to Charles, they were walking down the fairway, hey, I tend to shank a lot of pitches. Charles walked away from him, didn't talk to him for 2 holes. So it's not something everybody likes to talk to. All right, we have a video at YouTube, by the way, on how to cure shanks. But I think there's 2 possibilities primarily. The much less common one is the club's coming too far from the inside and swings out into the ball. The far more common one is the club's too far out and doesn't get in enough to hit the ball. So figure out which one of those you are, and here's the drill I would like you to do. Can you see these golf balls here? Can they see these? I can go forward a bit.
You can hit, we got foam balls and everything too.
Can you see those 2 balls?
Yeah.
Okay. Set to about this far apart, aim at the set up to the outside one, and just make a small swing and hit the inside one. You think, well, how do I do this? It's easy. It's easy to do that. Feel something completely different. One of the problems with shank is they're always trying to hit in the middle of the face. Try something different. So set up to a ball there, hit this one. You'll at least get a feel for what you need to feel to stop.
I used to have the shanks, and sometimes they come out. This is why I shank, and maybe this is why you shank. I tend to get forward on my downswing. When I get to the top, I lunge out and I lean forward, which is throwing my club out, and then I shank it. Whenever I shank it, I stand up straight in my swing and try to maintain this balance through the swing and not come forward. You can come forward without passing. Yeah. Because I come forward when I try to hit it hard. I still come from behind, but it throws it just a little bit, just enough to clear.
It also crowds the space between you and the ground, which kind of pushes the club out. So again, I think first thing is, how do I shank it? I mean, video yourself.
Video.
It's either too much here or it's too much here probably. Then do some opposite drills.
Perfect. Seth H. Seth on YouTube.
Seth.
Is Bryson DeChambeau doing anything besides swinging harder? I think we all want to hit as far as him.
Yeah, I think he's physically training like a maniac. I think he has some of the best trainers around him. I think he's made his swing longer and bigger. And he's done basically, when we addressed the question someone had with speed sticks, I don't know if he's using those, but he is practicing swinging as hard as he can. Not 100% of the time, but he's practicing that. Until you experience speed in real life, you don't know you won't be able to duplicate it. So what he does is he'll have a ramp up of shots where he swings as hard as he can, then he brings it down, and over time, his average speed has gone up. So longer swing, fitter, bigger body, club fitting, and speed training.
What do you mean by longer swing?
Well, if you watch the World Long Drive contest, almost every one of them has the club way back here like that with a huge stretch over it. You rarely see one of those here. The reason is, listen, if I've got a medium speed car, if I've got to get it to 80 miles an hour, I can do it better in a half-a-mile track than a 300-yard track. It gives me more time to build speed. So if I'm splitting a log with an axe, I can split it harder from here than I can from here. Just gives you time to build speed.
A big thing with him is he creates a lot of width. He gets way wide with his arc.
Yeah.
Width and length.
Yeah, a lot of width and length, and then he really downloads it coming down. He's a big, strong, talented guy. He was good before he went into all this. He hit it pretty far.
What's a good drill? This is from Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
What's a good drill for not lunging? To stop lunging, she has that problem, or he or she has that problem.
Okay, lunging would usually be trunk going towards ball or this way. What I would try to do is I'd go with the old Jack Nicklaus tip, and he used to feel when he played well, especially with the driver, that just after impact was the longest distance between right shoulder and club head. So he tried to snap his arms away from his body like so. Let me show you that. Little swing like that. So I would say in order to stop lunging, practice getting the arms longer. As they get longer, you'll be able to keep your height. Most time people that lunge have very bunched in arms. Hope that helps.
JD from YouTube.
Hey, JD.
Role of the right arm or right elbow in the downswing, assuming it's a right-handed.
Yeah, right arm in the downswing. I have a couple of videos of that on YouTube. But basically, when you see great players, their right arm is rarely connected at the end of the backswing. It's not miles away from them. It's that dynamic motion that brings it close. If you picture an alignment rod whipping a carpet or something like that, your arm would get close. So there's two things. It gets drawn closer by the change of direction with the hips. And secondly, your right arm and hand have to apply pressure at impact. They do that most effectively when your hands are up at your front legs. So once you've made that move, you want to feel like you can apply pressure and get those hands to the front leg. Let me get a little shot. That was the feeling. See, I could feel some load and some pressure.
Awesome. So Kenny is asking for the snap hook fix.
Hey, Kenny. Well, you could check your grip. I don't know that it's a problem. Clearly, you're getting the club to close too much, which is better than having it open, I think. But almost always, when someone snap hooks it, their swing gets away from them too much. It's too much out here. Club's heavy at high speed. It's hard to control it. So I would try to feel something we told someone earlier. I did some little 3/4 7 irons and through impact. Feel that this left triceps close to your ribs and feel that your right arm is more across your body. It's so much easier to hold the club face open. That's not a drill you can necessarily do with the driver. That sort of feel though. When my arms are in close there, much easier to keep the club open.
You're going to tell him the name.
So we've got a YouTube question.
Hey,
Juggernauts is asking, what's a good drill to help with swing tempo?
what's the name?
Juggernauts?
Well, Mr. Juggernaut, swing tempo. Lat shots
The
are great.
#1 training aid in the world for swing tempo training.
Golf Digest just ranked this as the #1 training aid. At least it will be in their upcoming edition. This thing's great because it has extra weight, and with all the flex, if you rush it too much, you completely lose your way. So this is a great way to work on it. Feel the flex, feel the club load. To say with the extra weight, it accentuates. Feel it release. Feel how relatively minimal amount of effort you need to start to create some snap at the bottom. I think that's the way to do it. Here's just one little tip for you. People innately want to hit the ball reasonably far, and they should. If they're not good at creating some pop in the club, they almost always overwork and overswing and rush their tempo. So this thing's great.
Is there something that somebody could work on for tempo without a tempo trainer like the OW or this or something
Yeah,
else?
well, we Scratch Golf Academy free app. We have a tempo, full swing tempo trainer that's great. Sam Snead, I'll give you a little Sam Snead anecdote. If you've ever heard of a classical piece of music called the Blue Danube, I think Strauss in the 1800s. Since nobody else probably knows that, I can assert it, but it goes da 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 da.
I need to get that link
And he would hum that. So get a little something, a little humming something in your head like that, and just play to that. Go hit some balls. Sam Snead would also hit some balls in his bare feet when he was struggling because he felt he got him some sense of where his balance was and helped him slow down with it. Might try that if there's no ants around.
That's great. Drills for shallowing the golf club.
Drills for shallowing the golf club. Backswing is always somewhat of a concern. Is it in a reasonably good plane? Is it about
It's
the
amazing
right
how
length,
Blackshot fixes
etc.?
everything they ask.
Remember this, the club is predisposed to shallow if it's passive enough. So number one, don't force the golf club. And number two, let that right arm release. I would take the club upside down. If I had a beanbag here, just practice, picture smacking it like that. Nice and oily and loose. I'm telling you, if you get up there and the club is loose and you get your arms straighter and you get your club down, you'll be shallow enough. Most people steep too much body, too much tension.
Once again,
Lag shot could be
this
very
is
helpful.
the number one thing for that. So I had a slice, you know that.
Yeah.
Used to slice it way 300 yards off in left field, lefty. The lag shot fixed it. Now
Yeah.
I come from the inside shallow, and my problem is that hook, or the, I hook it now.
Yeah.
I close it too early now.
Let me give you a little David Leadbetter tip he used to do in all the clinics when I worked for him. He'd grab a club with his fingers at the bottom of the handle. It relates to the lag shot. Club it'll be a few, 5-6 inches off the ground. He'd say to the group, hey, listen, just get moving back and forth. When you make a decent pivot, the club is predisposed to find the right plane. It really will. Try it for yourself. So I say that could be a good drill. But secondly, you're not trying to do astrophysics calculations here. The club will find its plane if you don't force it.
We're at 8:30. We're going to do one question from each platform here. So
Okay.
last question for TikTok.
Okay, TikTok, who we got?
Guys, you can send us messages. You can comment on any of the videos. You can reach out to us through the Scratch Golf Academy app, scratchgolfacademy.com.
If there's ways you think we can improve this show, we're here to help you. It's free. Just let us know what you think. We'll try to do better next time.
It's great.
What's the question?
So TikTok, we have Get Back to Golf. His question is,
Take it back to go.
do you count 1, 2, 3 in your swing, like you just said on the song, like a dance step? I learned that from Freddie Couples, he said. So 1, 2, 3.
You certainly can. At the end of the day, do what helps you swing the club better. I'm not trying to evade your question here. If that helps you, do that. I don't think tempo is really my problem for the most part. My tendency, as I've illuminated a couple of times, is sometimes to get a little too far behind the ball and drive my legs too much. So for me, I get the most bang for the buck by feeling more centered, squatted, and stable starting down. That may not be the case for you. So it's hard to borrow someone else's tip and say, this will work for me. It's like getting someone else's prescription saying, well, it's helping you, I'll try it. You may not have the same problem. Figure out what the biggest problem area in your swing is and find something that addresses it.
Last question from YouTube here. Chase1 is the user.
Hey, Chase One.
What's the most important fundamental of golf?
Wow.
Tough one.
That's, you would think I would know that question. I think the most important fundamental is probably in terms of technique is grip, because it's your connection to the club. If you have a crummy grip, you are going to have a hard road to play decent golf. Secondly, I think it's on a small scale, getting good at squaring the face up, getting some club face awareness. When you're good at squaring the club face up, which relates to the grip, most of the time it's a lot easier to play well, it's a lot easier to swing well. So I would say 1-on-1 if I'm allowed.
Awesome.
Anyone else?
That's great.
If you could just, so someone is asking, besides tempo, what is the lag shot?
What's the
Can you
lag
just
shot?
give us the rundown, sir, of
Yeah.
what this lag shot will do?
Sure, the lag shot.
Hey, Ryan, I'm gonna have Adam break this down on all the things. It's the Swiss Army knife of swing trainers. It helps with everything, it really does.
Yeah, a couple of things that just come to mind. This is a left-handed lag shot, doesn't matter. First off, it's a little heavier than a regular golf club, so it's good for stretching and loosening up. Secondly, it's good for creating and acquiring feel for where the club is. I find that most people, when they hit, do not have a very accurate sense of where the club is in space, so it's good for that. Next thing, and this is one of the biggest problems I see in golf, people don't let the club react to them enough. They snatch it back, they pull it down. That's hard to do with this club. It doesn't feel right. So at the beginning, you start to get the feeling for actually a little bit of lag there. Club responds to you. That corresponds to change of direction again. Club now is responding to the golfer, as you see with all elite players. Again, most players this way. And finally, once the club has responded on you and there's some stored energy in it, you start to get a natural sense of how the energy releases and pops. Most golfers just drag it through and chicken wing it. They haven't experienced that. So club responding to body, awareness of where the club is during the weight, and that nice soft feel where you start to create energy without so much effort. Swiss Army knife, right?
It is, thank you, sir.
Absolutely, I love this thing, it's great.
If they are interested in being an ambassador, we do have a couple questions. If you guys would be an ambassador for Lag Shot, just go ahead and go to my profile, click on the link, and then there should be a link right there to become an ambassador. You'll reach a sign-up page, and we'll get you all set up. Thank you for your participation and willingness to join the Lag Shot team. Thank you. Chunky Golfer. Thank you, sir.
Hope that wasn't a lady golfer you called Chunk Golfer. Is that the name?
It's Chunk Dog Golf.
I'm not used to
It's my buddy Chunk Dog
Yeah,
Golf.
I'm not want, let us know. We'll try to improve this thing as a service to you guys. We had some fun doing it. Thanks again for tuning in.
You.
All good?
Good.